Hey everybody, it's your girl Chantelli. From March 12th through March 16th, I was able to attend the South by Southwest conference for the first time, and I had a blast. Tune into the different sessions I attended.
Pronouns. I work at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. I work with college students I've been there for 12 years. Most of the time that I've been there, I've basically been an advisor overseeing like our student-led event planning programming team, and have been able to work with these women and other agents over the years. Learned a lot about the industry. I started as a student doing something very similar. I planned concerts, and as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, realized, having an intersection of education and then having a sliver of like helping students to do the thing that I kind of wanted to do was the path that I ended up going. So my job is very, very unique in the sense, and I don't think anyone's here for that, but I've learned a lot over the years, and I think what I really enjoy about my job is that, a lot of students come to our office hoping to take that next step and learn more about the industry, whether they want to become an agent or an entertainment lawyer or whatever. And the experience that we provide and the information and network that we're able to give really helps those students who come looking for that with that knowledge and opportunities for them to pursue whatever career they want. And so that was kind of why I wanted to help with this panel too, is, spread that a little bit more and help provide that insight to anyone else who also, wants to take that next step. So, and I will pass it on to Jolene to introduce herself.
Yeah. So my name is Jolene Chevalier. I own a company called How To Concerts, which is a middle buying agency, which means I'm basically an entertainment consultant, and 80% of our business is in the college market. And why I love working in the college market is because there's always somebody new to teach, and there's always somebody new to, teach me and to kind of grow and learn together. And there's always a different point to the concert, right? It's not just ticket sales. When you're working with students, the point is, a learning opportunity and building your resume, and there's just so much more to it. So I love working with students. And how I got here, so I went to college to become a famous actress, and then 2 weeks into acting class, I said, put me backstage. And then I never left. So I went to a competitive theater school, and once I decided to kind of go to the, back of house and house management, stage management side of things, I needed money. So I got a job in the campus activities office. And because I was a theater student, I couldn't be a programmer because I couldn't work nights. I had to be available for theater shows. So I was basically the administrative assistant of the campus activities department. So I'm sure they don't let a student do this anymore, but back then I was responsible for editing all of the entertainment contracts that came through the school. I'm positive that's not a student anymore. And also was in charge of just approving marketing materials or posters being hung on campus. So got to communicate with agents over over phone and email, and learned a lot about contracts. And then my advisor, or my boss, ended up hiring me to be a runner and kind of a hospitality coordinator for some local festivals, because why not? I thought that would be fun. He also had me plan some noontime lunch series and some, just some whatever he could do. I was just kind of always said yes to those opportunities to grow. And one of the festivals I did hospitality for the entertainment was booked by a middle agent. So when I was there, I ended up having a long conversation with that middle agent. Didn't think a ton about it. Wasn't sure I understood what they did. So after school, I went to work for a nonprofit performing arts center, and about a year and a half into that job, that middle agent that I had met contacted me, and I was looking for a move. It was good timing. So I moved up to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and worked for him for 8 years, and then decided it was time to jump and start my own company, because I felt like I was running a company I was maybe never going to run, because it was a family-owned business. So that was going on 7 years ago, and that's my story.
Hello, mic check.
Hi, I'm Rae Grabowski. I work at Wasserman Music We have been a company for 2 years now. Prior to that, we were Paradigm Music Agency. What I do, I'm an agent. I work primarily with colleges. I work with Jolene. I book our roster of 1,500 acts in the college market. I do Midwest to West Coast, and I have a partner who does the East Coast. And I also have a small roster of my own who I book in like the club scene, festival scene, everything outside of colleges, as well as colleges. How I got started, I went to the University of Missouri, go Chiefs, and I went there intending to go into politics. That didn't happen, obviously. I went to a Kanye West concert at an arena before, Kanye got canceled, and my friend was there, and she got there for free, and I was like, yo, how did you get into this concert for free? Like, what's happening right now? And she said, oh, I'm part of the programming board, and we helped promote the show, and so as a result, we got to attend for free. And I was like, get me in the door, how do I do this? So I joined our programming department. We had like multiple tiers within the programming department. It was like senior chair, director, etc. I worked my way up through that. I booked, I don't even know if you young kids are gonna know some of these acts. Augustana, The Roots before they were with Jimmy Fallon, Common, and a few other acts. And all the while over the summers, I was interning at Live Nation Amphitheater. I interned at a venue in Kansas City called the Uptown Theater. I interned at our arena. We brought Elton John, we brought the Blue Man Group, and I also was a campus label rep for one of the labels I can't think of right now. I do remember promoting Lupe Fiasco, figuring out ways to promote Lupe Fiasco on campus. And then I also was part of our tech group, and so I would go to all our small events and help set up stages and lighting, so I could figure out like that aspect of the industry and how you put a lighting tree up or connect speakers to a sound system or turn mics on. And after I graduated, it was the recession of 2008, and it was really hard to find a job at that time, so I went and lived with my parents and worked for the Census Bureau. I would not recommend. It was horrible. And all the while, I had this wall of like different agencies and companies that I wanted to work for, and I had written down like, sent my resume, did they respond, So like, I'm very type A, so I was tracking everything I was doing. And finally, I got an interview for Paradigm in Monterey, California. Probably don't know where that is. It's like 2 hours south of San Francisco. The guys who started the company really enjoyed the area. They were older, they moved from LA. It's like Gulf Central. And I interviewed for the receptionist position, and I did one interview over video, and the girl who interviewed me likes to joke that I was like not wearing pants, but I definitely was, you guys, I was wearing pants. And I got the job. I moved out to Monterey, California, had no idea where I was going. 2 weeks later, started as a receptionist, was not great at answering phones. So they moved me in the back, and I did contracts and deposit tracking, and then I became an assistant. I was assistant for several years, and then I was working on teams with like the Lumineers, Cherub, Big Gigantic, Walk the Moon, artists like that. And then I got promoted to help run the college department because it had grown so much that we needed a second agent. And from there, here I am.
Do you want to give like a quick overview of what that is, and how would people even find those different career paths that exist that aren't maybe as obvious?
We all talked for a while and talked through our journey because everybody has a different story, from the person selling the merch at a show to somebody working tech in the back. Everybody has their journey that they went to. My advice is to talk to as many people as possible, because I talked to quite a few people who are like, I didn't even know what you do as job. Like, I didn't know this was a job until I was basically this. So, until I was doing it. So, talk to as many as you can, because you're going to discover, oh, I didn't even know that was a position, or they had people that were doing that at a label, or, you know, people that do contract law, you know, marketing. Think of all the different ways that the industry uses marketing, and social media experts and SEO, you know, all the folks that have to go into building a website. I mean, there's just so much. So talk to every single person you can possibly meet from the industry.
Did you want a summation? In summation of like, artists usually start out with a lawyer, because anything you get involved in, you want like some kind of legal team behind you to help you figure out what's going on. And then generally it's a manager, and then it's an agent. That's like on the back end. Then you have the label that might sign you or might not sign you. And then a lot of those have like sub jobs within them. Your manager has a tour manager, takes you on tour, handles that stuff. You have the agency will have a marketing team for your tours and shows, and then you have like PR. There's a lot of jobs. So yeah, for me, it was doing a lot of research. When I was in college, I really wanted to try out each area of the music industry to see like if it was my jam or not. And I did an internship at an agency. I did an internship as a buyer on the promoter side. I did the label thing, and I wish I had done a management side. I hear it's kind of like babysitting, but you know, I think it would have been interesting to like see if that was something that I would have enjoyed. But I would just suggest definitely like dabbling in all of it, and like Jolene said, talking to everyone, because you never know like who knows who, what, where. Getting involved in like local venues, especially for like campuses. I would like get on your programming boards and help bring artists to shows
And
to your campus.
And if you can't, are there other ways you can help them? Can you be a part of the marketing street team? There's just a million different ways. And those are all things that you're able to put on a resume or talk about that experience. No matter what thing you're having a little bit to do with, I always, the Association of Performing Arts Presenters in New York City, as a student, I hope this is still the case, but as long as I volunteered some hours to like help with registration, I could go for free, and then I just had to pay for my travel. And I got to meet people, and within a week of being there, I was like, I don't know that I would live here full time. Ooh, that's discouraging. And that was important for me to learn and grow. And then you also get more creative, right? And you look for opportunities in cities and places you would want to live. And that was really important. So I went all the way to New York City to find out that, and then I ended up getting stuck in the airport, introduced myself to some Wisconsin people. They ended up being in my first interview out of college for that Performing Arts Center, and they hired me because after 7 hours stuck in an airport, I was still smiling and willing to talk to them and not angry. So they wanted me to be the one that was going to deal with their artists. So something as little as that can make a very big impression.
Yeah. Any interaction can make a huge difference. So you all have talked about networking a lot, right? Like all those interactions matter. And before we came here, what would be your top like do's and don'ts for networking?
Do not try to follow me on Instagram if I don't know who you are. I think it has to be very organic, because it can be a little bit of a turnoff if it's like coming out of nowhere, you have no idea who this person is. It really helps to go. It's hard as a student because you're starting out, so it's like it helps to go through another person, but if that's not possible, make it as natural as possible. And like even after this, you want to come talk to me? I'm chill, let's talk. It's just like random like LinkedIn ads, no message, you're like, what's happening? Social media ads, just like this isn't really the way to go about professionally like getting in the door.
I agree. It's hard without context. I just recently got an email sent to me saying, hey, I'm a student at so-and-so university. It's a university that I don't work with, so I don't know the student. Here's my resume, wondering if you have any open positions. Well, I'm racking my brain trying to think, do I know this student? If they would have given me even a sentence of context, like we met here at this conference or anything, I would have been more apt to respond and say, oh, great, like let me take a look at this because I talked about in this session, resume, of course I'll look at your resume. Any sort of context that you can provide is helpful to make that connection, because then they can either put a face to a name or at least know, oh, I probably did meet that person if they're recalling this particular instance. And then, like, you mentioned having someone else introduce you to people. That's a great way to meet people. And do the same for your friends, right? Like, oh, you're you're an agent. You have to meet my friend Brittany. She really wants to be an agent, and go grab your friend, right? Like and because you hope they do the same for you. So keep that, and even somebody that introduces somebody else to me, that person, I'm going to remember that person that introduced me to the person, right? Like all of that is going to mean something at some point to someone, and you got to keep trying and keep meeting people and keep putting yourself out there. Sometimes these things can come off very intense, like following up 24 hours later after you've sent an email. Maybe give it a minute, and give some breathing room. I once had a student send me their resume that I did know. I did work with the university, and I was just busy. I didn't get to respond. She followed up maybe a month or two later, and we were looking for someone. So the timing was perfect, and I was so glad they had followed up, because I just lost the first email. It got flooded into the inbox, and I just missed it. So a month or two later, that we do have an opportunity. I'm so glad you reached out. So don't take a non-response as an absolute closed door. Make sure you follow up a little while later without being, without being too overbearing. That's that fine line of what that is. But yeah, and also don't be afraid to ask people for informational interviews. Hey, can you jump on a phone call with me and tell me more about what you do? I haven't heard of that before. Can you tell me about it? I've had several students do that and interview me they had to do it for a class, but how much did they learn from that? And they had no idea the things that I do.
I think you do have to push yourself a little bit, because I know generally generation-wise, it's kind of hard to get on the phone sometimes. It's like, I like to text, I like to DM you, I like to do all these things that are a little less committal. Awkward quiet time is okay on phone calls. It's fine. They're there to help. If they didn't want to take the call, they wouldn't take the call. So I would just use that time, get comfortable with getting on the phone. I know it's hard. I have the same problem, but it's okay. And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Life. But what have you all seen? Yeah. Well, what have you seen as more recent trends in the industry that are helpful to share and know about?
So you guys know this thing, COVID, that happened.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah. I was at the agency, and March, 14th, 2020 was like, we're gonna cancel. It was right before South by. I had an artist, Surfaces, playing South by, and it was like, oh, we have to cancel. And I was like, what's happening? It's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. We can still do this. And then it just kept happening. I was like, oh shit. And so my job was then just canceling shows. And then there was a brief time where I was unemployed for a week, and then they were like, oh snap, we actually need you to keep canceling these shows and handle all this work. So they brought me back. And with colleges, as you guys know, you still went to college, that didn't stop, and you still paid your membership fee, whatever, student services fee, whatever you call it, activities fee, and the campus still had to provide entertainment for you guys. So we got into the virtual world. Did anyone attend a university virtual performance? And it was great. You loved it? Okay, that's good. Our department was one of the only departments actually bringing money into the company, because the students still had to pay that fund, the school had to still provide that service, and the artists still needed to make money. And so it really helped a lot of artists get through that time period. But now it's like nobody wants to touch it because the attendances weren't great. People want to be IRL, as the kids say.
In real life.
Thank you, John. And it's really hard to like recreate that experience of being at a concert or being, moshing in a pit with your best friends, drinking water and being good. And so I don't think that is going to come back as strong as it did. But I think there's still some of that element happening where people who still don't necessarily feel comfortable attending shows are provided the opportunity to watch it on live stream, and still experience it, but like that actual physical situation is now present, and I think that's what people enjoy the most, but it was definitely a phase.
I mean, people are creating and putting out more content than ever before, and COVID definitely shot that into the stratosphere, right? Like, because it became accessible and people could do it from their homes. Like, you couldn't buy equipment online because everybody was buying it and having it in their homes and recording at home and collaborating in different ways. So that, there's a lot of more collaboration in digital ways. I would say that's a definite trend that just was fast forwarded because of the circumstances.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. Let's see, that would have been spring of 2020. We did a virtual event and they asked one of the artists, what's one piece of advice you would give to artists just starting out? And he said, get on TikTok, because it's a direct to consumer way of putting out your content. So that's made our job interesting, because coming out of COVID, I think we were like 3 or 4 artists' first live show. Terrifying, right? You don't know how it's gonna go or if they have any experience playing live, but we took a risk and most of them went really well. but that was a trend of, I would say, fall 2021 of, we don't know what experience they have performing. Let's do this. And we had to kind of take a leap of faith and fake it till we make it, or have the artists fake it till they make it. And they did. They did great.
We also added a lot of legal jargon
Oh, yeah.
to our contracts.
We still have it.
I would say the legal parts of contracts on both sides got a little bit more complicated, especially like force majeure language, which force majeure is like acts of God cancellation clauses. Those are being scrutinized on both sides of the equation much more carefully now because of what happened on March 12th, 2020, when the world shut down. There was artists ready to go. They were like, their gear was all on stage ready to perform, and then they're told, pack up and go home, your tour is over for now. So because of that day and those situations of everybody being out a lot of money on both sides, that's definitely I spend a lot of time every day going back and forth about that language.
I will say I think people got a lot more kind during that whole situation. A lot of people were more understanding. It was like, what can we do? We literally can't do anything. The world is shut down. I'm sorry this is happening to you. I'm sorry this is happening to you. We're all trying to just figure it out. And that was a little bit of like a breath of fresh air, because this industry can be hard. There's a lot of people who tell you about the grind. You're like working all the time and like this is the main focus, but like during that time it was a breath that people could like focus on balancing their lives. And I think that's definitely happened now. You see that with like remote working. Our company doesn't require you to be in the office 9 hours a day for the whole week, and I think that's really great, and it's helped a lot of people with their mental health. And so I'm grateful for that aspect of like what's come out of it.
Maybe you could speak more eloquently about this, but I also feel the days of when I felt like when I was a student, the assistants got the coffee, right? Like for the agents, and I really think that dynamic has shifted. I don't think that's what any of those positions are anymore. it's more collaboration. They want to hear from young people. They want them on their teams. I just think there's more room there for young people to be at the table, or people just moving to the industry. I just think there's more room.
Yeah, 100%. My assistant's remote. I live in LA, she's in Nashville. I can't have her get coffee. It would take forever. So it's like, no, I'm having her do things that actually apply to her career and what she wants to be doing. And when I started out, yes, there were people who were like picking up dry cleaning and taking your car to the car wash. And I think that also comes with generational expectations of what an assistant would be doing. Like Miranda Priestley versus like me, we're different, obviously. I can get my own coffee, you know, like I want to help the people under me to get to a place where they're next to me, not like always under me. Washerman specifically has started classes with the Black Coalition at HBCUs, Tennessee State last semester and Howard this semester, where they're focusing on helping people. It's hard to get in the music industry. Like, it doesn't pay a lot of money when you start out. So like, if you're going into a situation where you're having to work multiple jobs, it's really hard to focus on like the job that you want to be in and live in Los Angeles and not commute for 3 hours a day to like get to your office. So the goal is to like help people figure out ways and to provide information on how we get a more diverse company environment, and that's really a big focus for our company specifically. We have a D&I council, and we're working with Colors of Change, and we're doing a lot. We're running numbers every semester is what I want to say, but quarterly, about how we're increasing who we're hiring, what we're focusing on, and like that's definitely a prerogative for us to like do better.
I mean, speaking of trends, it's not a trend, it's just that people finally realize that the more unique perspectives at the table, the better off every room is going to be, right? Like, the better off that all the results are going to be. You can serve everyone. So there's definitely a lot of those initiatives. Like, I know diversifythestages.com is an initiative that Noelle from Fits in the Tantrums, I believe she was a big catalyst for that, and it's a really great program. I did a show where the tour manager was a young, maybe 23-year-old female of color, and I was like, how'd you get to be head tour manager of a tour and you're like 23? Tell me more. And she said it was through that program that she basically got asked to be an assistant tour manager, and then the lead tour manager needed to take off. So she was the one that logically could step into that role because she had been a part of all the advanced conversations. Like, what a cool opportunity as a 23-year-old. It was awesome to see, and it was through that program that she found that opportunity. So there's lots of initiatives, and it's a good time to be you, to be uniquely yourself and be proud of it.
Good ally.
When I started becoming a middle agent in the college market, I only knew of one other female that did what I do in the college space. That was interesting, but also I just kept at it, and I knew my worth, and I just kept going. And I like to say that I keep a lot of those comments that were made throughout the years to me in a little chip-sized box right here that kind of motivate me to keep going, because if anything, I'm going to prove 2008 this guy that I am going to succeed at this. So that's part one.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of women agents at our company, and it's hard even yet because the women agents are kind of like in a race with each other to an extent. So it's like, how do you get to a point where you're all supporting each other as opposed to like fighting with each other to like sign the next act or whatever. for me personally, it's about awareness and like supporting all the people around me who are women, and letting them know that what they need is heard. And my assistant's a woman. I could have hired a man, I didn't. My former boss is a woman. She helped me come up. I think it's just about prioritizing them as a human as opposed to like their gender, and using your experience and what you've gone through to like help them get through it as well. Even though it's definitely getting better than it used to be, I still get inappropriate. People still call me honey and girls and lady, and it's like, can you retire, please? Seriously. But it's just about like knowing that what these people think about you, what they're projecting onto you is not you, it's their own issues, and just advocating for yourself, setting your boundaries, and like fighting for the women around you to a point where we can all get paid equally, like 2 days ago commemorated.
And you asked about how can men be allies. I like to surround myself with men that I know are going to build up women. So, for example, we had a man working for our company for a long time, and every single time somebody would come up and say, oh, are you the, like, we can both be standing there, and somebody would always come up and talk to him first. and they would say, oh, are you the owner, blah, blah, and they just dive right into it. And he would literally say, nope, that's her, and just scoot out of the question. He never, ever for a second claimed that or took that. And so they either thought he owned the business or he was my husband. Those clearly were the only two options available. He couldn't be an employee of mine. So there was a lot of moments like that, and he always made it a point to point people back in my direction. And I try to do that as well from a perspective of like, give credit where credit is due, even to the people underneath you or to the side of you. I've never ever called my assistant. I call her a team member or something else.
Okay, calm down.
So
I didn't give her that title.
yeah, so that's fair. And she's more than an assistant, right? She's doing a lot more in that role. So just building each other up in that way, because we can both give each other credit that's due.
I would say do not use the terms honey, girls, lady. That would be a great
Young lady.
first step.
I had a competitor I got done giving a speech and he said, good job, young lady.
I'd like to now impart, your wisdom on everyone here.
Comparison is the thief of joy, or because I have 4 children, I need to sometimes change my wording, and I always say, never let your ice cream melt while you're counting someone else's sprinkles. Same concept. Your journey is unique to you. It doesn't matter what stage of the game you're getting into this, or you're switching careers, or whatever it is. Don't compare yourself to someone else that hit the ground running or got a job right out of college before they were graduated. Don't do that to yourself. Everybody's journey is different, and sometimes you just don't know what's coming. Like, the very right thing for you could be coming. So just remember that your journey is your own, and it's okay that somebody else is also shining.
So I'm generally an anxious person. Obviously not a therapy session, but just letting you know. So the best advice I've gotten is, I'm not a surgeon. If this email doesn't get attended to like immediately, or this show issue doesn't get attended to immediately, like, no one's gonna die. I gotta not put so much pressure on myself to like resolve issues in the immediacy, and to like give myself that space to process what's happening, and to allow for just breathing and pauses and taking it as it comes, and just taking one step at a time, and knowing that it's not that serious and everything will be okay at the end of the day.
I mentioned this to Rae and Jolene earlier, but it made sense for me at the time, and I definitely reiterate it, but the only person that'll advocate for you is you. And I think, there was a long time where I I got lucky, I think, in that for a while, I got jobs handed to me. Like, that sounds not right. Like, I didn't have a hard time getting jobs. I would apply and get what I wanted. And then there was a period of time where I wasn't getting that. And it wasn't because I was a bad person or I was doing things poorly, but I wasn't really advocating for myself in the way that I needed to. I was just kind of like taking a step back. And my boss was like, you need to shine, but you need to tell people, you know, who you are and what you're capable of. And I wasn't doing that. And I think I've come to realize, like, she was 100% right. I have to talk about myself. I'm not good at it. Like, it's hard to, and I think a lot of people have a hard time talking about themselves, but no one's going to do that for you necessarily. And so, you know, you have to shine that light on yourself at times and advocate wherever you can and push forward to get what you want. And obviously don't be a jerk while you're doing that, but you know, advocating for yourself is so important. And especially as, you know, you've heard, you know, talking Jolene and Rae talk about, that's pretty key.
I want to thank you for tuning in. Be sure to click like on this video, subscribe to my channel, and just share. I love you.
Cash out. Baby, it's right. Me, you. Our spring, we ride out. Me and you. Summers, we fly out. Baby, me, you. Baby, it's ride or fly. When it's me and you. Ride or fly. Me, you. Fall or spring, we ride out. Me and you.
Chantelly.